All right, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Harvest Moon Farm here. My name is Mickey, and we've got another day of fall baking ahead of us. Today, we're going to focus on items with a caramel flavor profile. First thing we're going to do this morning is unload our dishwasher from all the things that we used yesterday. We'll pull out the items that we're going to be using for our baking today, put everything else away, and then we will get started. So I ran the dishwasher yesterday after I finished with yesterday's baking projects. A lot of this stuff though we're going to be using again today, so I will just set it out. As I said, we're going to be focusing on a caramel flavor today. We have 3 different items we're going to be making: brown butter salted caramel cookies, salted caramel butter cake bars, and we're going to do a copycat crumble salted caramel cheesecake cookie. Yum! I can't wait to get started. Get our stand mixer over here. Hopefully I don't break it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do the brown butter salted caramel cookies. So we're going to make up this dough and then we're going to put it in the fridge and let it chill. So then while we're chilling this dough, we'll go ahead and get started on the second recipe. We're going to start by mixing our dry ingredients together. We're going to start with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. To our flour, we're going to add a teaspoon of baking soda. We want 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to whisk this together and we're going to set it to the side. Then we're going to go ahead and brown our butter. And we're going to brown 1 cup of butter. You want to cut it into pieces. And this butter it is at room temperature. It doesn't matter, but I did set some butter out last night to soften, so I'd be ready for today. Now we're just going to let our butter melt, and then we'll let it cook until it's browned. That's going to take about 15 or 20 minutes. Part of this browning process is once our butter is all the way melted, as it starts to brown, it's going to first foam up, and then you're going to see some brown flecks at the bottom of your pan. And that's when we want to start watching it pretty closely, because it can easily burn at that stage because it's moving pretty quickly. But it's going to take us a little bit to get there. I had all of this butter that I bought from Azure Standard and had in my freezer, and I'm really close to being out. I may have to buy some more before my next Azure Standard order comes in. I haven't ordered from them for a while since I moved because I didn't have a place to put anything. But by the time I get my next order, I'll have a freezer up here. And I can put my extra butter in there, and then I can also have a place to put freezer meals so we can get some of those made. Alright, so our butter's all melted now, so now we just have to let it start simmering and bubbling up, and it'll start browning. So you can see we're starting to get some foam on the top. That's going to kind of solidify, and then it'll kind of disappear, And once that foam has kind of disappeared, that's when we know we need to really keep a close eye on it, because our brown flecks will start showing up on the bottom and our butter is going to take on a really nutty smell. And you do want to whisk this or stir this fairly often so that it doesn't burn on the bottom. So you can see that foam has kind of broken up into little layers of foamy looking substance. As this continues to brown, that's going to kind of disappear and it's going to form some of those brown flakes on the bottom of our pan. And now that I'm thinking about my Azure Standard order, I think I went light on my butter order because I didn't know if I was going to have a freezer. I do know for sure now that I will have a freezer in here before then, before that order arrives. So I might need to go in and increase my butter order. Sadly, my pickup location, or my drop location, is not nearly as close as it was when I lived in Paola. But that's okay. I won't need to order as often as I did in Paola either. You can see now that foamy substance, well, what started out as foam is now kind of like little flecks. And that's going to start turning brown. Okay, we're getting close. You can see the brown bits on the bottom there. And when I move the foam away, you can see that it's starting to become a darker yellow. And now we can see the little brown bits. We can start to see the little brown bits bubbling up here. So we're going to give this just another minute or so. We are just about there. And this is when you really want to watch it because it can burn very easily at this point. Okay, so now it's a really dark color. We're going to put this to the side and we're going to let it cool down to room temperature before we move on to the next step. All right, our brown butter has cooled down to room temperature. We want to put our butter and our sugars in our stand mixer. Oh, and I'm dripping everywhere. That's lovely. To our butter, we're going to add 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar. As always, we're going to pack it in our measuring cups. There's our 1. And our 1/4. We're going to add 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. And then we're going to mix this until it's all blended. To our butter and sugar, we're going to add 1 large egg. And 1 egg yolk. I'll keep that extra white. 1 tablespoon of vanilla. 1 tablespoon of Greek yogurt, plain. And then we're going to mix this until it's all combined. And now we're going to add our dry ingredients gradually. And I'm just going to turn this on and let it run and gradually add this. Now we're going to take our dough, we're going to put it in another bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, and chill it for at least 30 minutes. You can chill it overnight or up to 2 days, the author says. All right, we'll put this into the fridge. While that dough is chilling, we're going to go ahead and start on our salted caramel butter cake bars. And we're going to go ahead and start preheating our oven to 350. We're going to prep a 9 by 13 pan by just coating it with spray. Now this recipe does start with a store-bought cake mix. You want 1 yellow cake mix. We're going to melt a 1/2 cup of butter, so that would be 1 stick. That's our 1/2 cup of melted butter. And 1 large egg. Now we're going to mix this until we end up with a cohesive dough. This is going to form the base of our cake bars. What we're going to do is put our dough in the bottom of this pan, and we're going to spread it out and firm it down a little bit so it creates a nice base. So I'm going to use my spatula to kind of start it, and I'll probably end up using my fingers for the rest because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this smashed down. We want to get this as even as possible. Okay, so the spatula works pretty well, but I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that it's pressed down well using my fingers. We're going to set that to the side. Then we want to use 8 ounces of cream cheese, and we're going to whip it until it's light and silky. Now, I forgot to get the cream cheese out and bring it to room temperature, so this is going to take a little while because we want to whip it until there is no lumps left, because it won't be a good cream cheese mixture in the middle of our bars if we don't get it smooth. And I fight with cream cheese. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if there's some trick to getting this out of here, but I fight with it every time. There we go. So I'm just going to turn this on, and I'm just going to let it run until this is smooth. Well, that actually didn't take very long. To our cream cheese, we're going to add 2 large eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla. Whoa, that was probably more than a teaspoon. Then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of a salted caramel sauce. And we're going to mix this all together. Okay, I think that the bowl that I have on my stand mixer is too big, and it's not enough filling. So I'm switching to my hand mixer so that I can get down in there and get that going. And I might actually have to switch bowls too. Step. Now we're going to add 4 cups of powdered sugar to this, slowly. Okay, so I've transferred this back to my stand mixer bowl. All right, we're going to pour our cream cheese mixture over our cake base. Look at that. That's going to be so good. Just want to spread that out, make sure that it's covering the whole cake base. All right, I am going to now sprinkle some flaked sea salt over the top of this. And we're going to put this in the oven and bake it for 35 to 40 minutes. Okay, so even though it's been 30 minutes or more, we're not going to do anything else with our first batch of cookies until our cake bars come out of the oven, so that our cookies aren't sitting too long. We are going to go ahead and prep our caramels though. So I have a bag of just Kraft caramels, and we need, this says it makes 36 cookies, so we want to cut 36 of our caramels, no, we want to cut 18 of our caramels in half so that we have 36 pieces. Alrighty, so I've got 18 counted out. I'm just going to unwrap them and use my knife to cut them in half. Cut these in half now and put them in this bowl. Alright, and I'll just set those to the side until we're ready to work on those cookies. We're going to start prepping our first cookies that we put together to go in the oven when our cake bars are done. So we want a 1/4 cup of sugar, just granulated sugar, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. So now we're going to take our chilled dough, and I'm going to use my medium scoop, and we're going to scoop out a ball of dough. I'm going to go ahead and scoop them all out before I do the next step. Okay, so I ended up with 30 cookies and not 36, but that is okay. What we're going to do is kind of flatten our little dough ball. We're going to put one of our caramel halves in here, and we're going to wrap the dough around it so that it's completely covered. And then we're going to roll it in our cinnamon sugar. We're just going to do that with all of our dough balls until we have all of them ready. Just want to make sure that your caramel is completely covered. And some of these are a little big, so I am pulling the excess dough off, and maybe we can get our other 6 cookies out of it. I think we might be able to. I probably just scooped up too much dough the first time around. Okay, there's our first pan. Our bars are almost done. Well, they're almost done with the first 35 minutes. We'll check it and see if it's ready to come out of the oven. The center doesn't seem like it's quite set, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a few more minutes. We'll go back to our other cookies. There's our bars. Let's see how they look. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm just going to set it up here for a minute, and we're going to let it cool slightly. So we're going to put our first 2 pans of these brown butter cookies in here. I don't know what I'm doing here. We're using a 350-degree oven, and we're going to bake these 8 to 10 minutes. Alrighty, so we were able to go ahead and get 36 cookies. So I'm going to take this pan, I've got it on a cooling rack, and we'll set it over here and let it cool. So I forgot we were supposed to sprinkle a little sea salt on top of these, so I pulled those out and sprinkled some salt on them. All right, there's our first batch of cookies, so we're going to see how those look. Whoops. And I don't think that they are done. So let's give them a couple more minutes. All right, let's see how these look. Oh, those look better, I can tell. All right, we're going to take these out. Oh, and we're going to let them cool about 5 minutes on our pan, and then we're going to transfer them to a cooling rack and let them finish cooling. So we'll go ahead and stick the other pan in now. We're going to start on our copycat crumble cookies now. We're going to mix up our dry ingredients first. We want 1.5 cups of flour. Half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and for these we want 1.5 cups of crushed graham cracker. All I'm going to do is put 1 package in a Ziploc baggie. I'm going to crush it up a little bit, get the air out, and then we're going to use a rolling pin to crush this up. There are lots of ways that you can crush your graham crackers. You can put them in the blender, which I would do if I had any space for my blender, but this works just as well. stand mixer, we're going to mix our butter and sugars. So we need 3/4 of a cup of butter, which is 1.5 sticks. One-third cup granulated sugar and 1/3 cup brown sugar. Then we're going to blend that up. To this we want 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Then we're going to blend that all in. And we're going to add all of our dry ingredients except for the graham cracker. And we're going to mix that up completely. We're going to slowly add our 1.5 cups of crushed graham cracker. I'm going to use my 1/2 cup measure just because it's easier to get into the bag, and then I can also put it in slower. We want another 1/2 cup of crushed graham crackers. And we're going to put that in this bowl. So we're going to use our 2-inch scoop. We're going to get a ball of dough and we're going to roll it in this extra crushed graham cracker that we have. Okay, now so we're going to flatten these just a little bit. We're going to bake these 1 tray at a time in our 350-degree oven. And we want to bake them for 8 to 10 minutes. While that batch is baking, we'll go ahead and get our next pan ready. We'll see how much we can get for this 3rd pan. All right. There's that first batch. We're going to set them here. We're going to let them sit about 5 minutes before we take them off this pan. So we'll put this next pan in and cook that for another 8 to 10 minutes. While we finish baking those, we're going to go ahead and make our frosting. We want 8 ounces of cream cheese and 8 ounces of butter. So that'll be 1 stick of butter. Go ahead and put that in. To that we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and then we're just going to mix this all up. That was probably 2. Okay, now we're going to add 2.5 cups of powdered sugar. So we've got the last batch of cookies in the oven while everything else is cooling. Well, our frosting's done. While everything is cooling, we're going to go ahead and make our caramel sauce that goes on top. In our saucepan, we're going to start with 5 tablespoons of butter. That's 4. And there's 5. We're going to add 1 1/4 cups of brown sugar. We're going to add 1/2 cup of whipping cream, a tablespoon of vanilla, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to put this on a low-medium temp, and we're going to let everything melt together, and then we'll let this boil for about 5 to 7 minutes. So my granddaughter is coming over later this afternoon. Her brother is going to see a movie that would scare her, so they're going to leave her with me. So they'll be able to take some of these goodies home with them, so that'll help me get them out of my house. I will save some, obviously, for me, but I can't have them all here. And I'd much rather give them to my grandkids than have me eat them, first of all, or have them go bad in my kitchen because I didn't have a place to take them. This last pan of cookies is just about ready to come out of the oven. And then we'll let those cool for a few minutes before we put them on our cooling racks. Alright, so we can go ahead and turn our oven off now. So we want to bring our caramel sauce to a boil, and then we're going to let it cook about 5 minutes. And it's going to thicken up while it cooks, and that's how we'll know that it's ready. Still have this one little piece of butter in here to melt that was the cold butter. And you do want to stir this, otherwise it's going to boil over and it could burn. Oh shoot. Do not do that because that's going to smell terrible. And it does. Turn my heat down a little bit. Oh my goodness, I did it again. Got just about another minute, and then we'll just remove it from the heat and let it cool. And then I can clean up the mess on my stove. Okay, I'm going to set this to the back of my stove and just let it cool. And when our caramel's cool and our cookies are cool, we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. Our caramel is still cooling, but we're going to go ahead and put the frosting on these copycat crumble cookies. So you want a pastry bag with just an open round tip. I was really glad that I was able to find one of mine. I don't know where the others are. I'm sure they're probably in my storage unit. In the storage unit that's crammed full that I have no idea where anything's at, unfortunately. Alrighty, all we're going to do is squeeze our frosting out. And we're just going to go in a circle like that. Frost all of our cookies like this. And then we'll wait a little while longer for our caramel to finish cooling. And then we'll put our caramel sauce on the top of these. If you want these cookies to be gigantic, like the ones that you get at Crumble Cookie, you could use a 3 tablespoon cookie scoop, which in my case is the large Pampered Chef scoop. But I think this size is better. It's better for me anyway, for giving away. I always have a hard time refilling these bags. And these are disposable. I'm just going to get a fresh one. let's see if we can get the rest of this in here and finish these last few cookies. All right, one cookie left. Here we go. Beautiful. Caramel sauce is cool now, so I'm going to use this little metal whisk thing, and we are going to just drizzle our caramel over each cookie. And we're going to have way more caramel than we need. So I will just put it in a jar and keep it for something later. I'm also getting caramel all over my counter, and I think I splashed some on my floor, but we'll just mop everything up when we're all done today. I just realized my dishwasher was running, so I'm sorry if that was so loud in the background. All right, we've got one more cookie. Oh my goodness, look at that. And I'm going to give these just a little sprinkle of this flaked salt. I don't think the recipe called for that, but I think it sounds like it would be good. So we've got 30 of our copycat crumble cookies. We've got 36 of our caramel cookies, and we have the pan of our cake. What was that? And we have the pan of our butter cake bars. So I'm going to go ahead and let the caramel kind of set on these cookies before I try to package them. I am going to try one. I'm going to take one of the smaller ones. Let's see. It's this one. Oh, this one. This is really, really good. Oh man. The author does say you could either eat these at room temperature, which they taste delicious, or you could chill them, which that would probably be really good as well. So we've got everything done for today. Oh my gosh, that's so good. As I said, I'm going to go ahead and let the caramel kind of set up on these cookies before I try to package them in any way. Not really sure how I'm going to package them. But we've got a lot of good stuff done today. Everything smells delicious. I'm sure everything tastes delicious. This one does. I will be giving some to my daughter-in-law when she brings my granddaughter over later so that they can take some home and enjoy them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this next installment of our fall baking, where we have focused on our caramel flavors. Next video will focus on apple, and we'll be working on that shortly. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the thumbs up button. That really helps me out. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Bye guys.